Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. Now, Barb, most people are very concerned about which comes first. Sell first, then live in temporary housing, or buy first, then sell at your leisure. What are some of the solutions that you have, Barb, for this catch-22? The people at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and you have got solutions. What are they?
Well, Richard, most home sellers want certainty. So the underlying assumption is, okay, I put my house on the market, it's going to sell. But then when it doesn't sell, it's surprising, right? They want certainty that their house will sell. They want certainty that they can get a certain price so they can move to their next home. And of course, they want to make sure it will go smoothly. I just spoke with a seller last weekend. She was talking about the previous time she sold and bought, and there were surprises at the last minute. Nobody likes surprises, and she's still not over it. It was years and years ago. So it's really, really important that you get somebody that's communicating with you all the way. Now, there are times when there are things that happen that are completely out of your control. When you have, this happens a lot because it's 1 month of school to be a real estate broker. It's 1 week of school to be a mortgage broker. Imagine handling your largest mortgage. And really what they do is originate loans, like they get the borrower to apply for a loan, but they don't approve the loan. They might use their gadgets like automated underwriting or something like that and say, oh, you're pre-approved. But they haven't really done a deep dive into the buyer's finances yet. And yet they're telling the seller, oh, everything's going to be fine. It's going to go through. So I've had lenders lie to me and say, oh, yeah, this is fine. We just need this, and it's going to be great, you know? And the next thing I know, we're right before closing. Oh, sorry, can't get a loan. I recommend they terminate. I'm like, why? Oh, I can't tell you, it's privacy. Like, okay, whatever. So it's very disheartening for a home seller to have that happen to them, to have a deal fall apart like that. But there's not much you can do about it. You just have to move on. Now, what we do is we continue to market the home, especially up on the big box text company sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com. We are not going to tell the world it's under contract until the deal is firm, because that creates demand destruction. So we're trying to sell it all the way to the end. That's what we do for our clients. It may not be the way other people do it, but they don't run my business. So I'm okay with that. And you know what? The sellers really want to know that they'll have the resources when they get to their destination, right? So there are some choices. There are some options out there. They can be somewhat expensive, and some of them maybe not. I met with a home seller yesterday that has a paid for house and they have sufficient income. So they could go buy their next home right now without any problem. They don't like the idea of having a mortgage again, but I run into a lot of people that are in that category of having a paid for home, and they can go buy their next home. And that probably is the lowest stress way of moving from A to B. But I find most people won't even go on the market until they kind of have their destination sort of firmed up. But if they buy their next home first and they move at their pace, it is a much lower stress to deal with. Now, there's a lot of people that don't want the home to go vacant. You know, like let's say they buy their next home first. They don't want it to be empty while they're making the transition. There's ways around it. We market to make sure it looks like it's occupied. I also recommend you put up cameras and things like that just to watch what's going on around the doors. But if a buyer comes to us and asks one of our sellers, hey, will you take your house off the market waiting for me to sell mine? And oh, by the way, my house isn't even on the market yet. Most home sellers are like, no, because you're not ready to buy. You don't have a ready, willing, able buyer yet. They will be when they get their house under contract, they're a little bit more towards the finish line. They still have to wait for all of their landmines to go through on their sale if they have a contract on their house. But if they don't, it's a big gamble right now, especially with the average days on market going up to over 5 months. But we have a whole bunch of solutions, and we even guarantee the price range. We actually show up with multiple offers on your home with cash offers. And, we try to make the process as pain-free as possible. So we actually have cash buyers that can make an offer on pretty much any home on the market in the whole country. So if a buyer comes to you and has a house to sell, I can put their address in our cash offer platform and get them an offer so they can buy your home without a sale contingency. But having a house that's not on the market and asking the seller, will you wait for me another 5 months to sell this house, is just too much of a risk for most sellers, and they won't take it. There are some statuses in the MLS system. They're all different. There's 1,500 different MLS software companies in the country. The software companies don't have the same software, and they don't talk to each other. So Realtor.com was actually the first company to ever blend all these different MLS software. They're kind of like local Realtor Club software into one website and present it as all the homes for sale. It's pretty accurate information. Zillow was the next one on the scene, then homes.com, and there's more. But at the end of the day, most consumers don't log in to the local MLSs. We tried to do it when we bought a house for our son out in California. I tried to log into their local MLS as a consumer, and it wouldn't let me do it. I had to go to Zillow to find houses. So that's what most buyers do. 64% of buyers are going to Zillow to see what's available. But all the different MLSs have these different categories of status. So if the seller accepts a contract, they mandate that we're supposed to show the home as under contract. So all the tech companies follow suit. And now buyers looking at that they'll say, well, it says contingent. What does that mean? That means that the seller has accepted a contract. They may have a house to sell. They may not. That buyer, you don't know unless you ask and find out more about it. But typically the buyers take it as that home is not available, moving on. To me, that's demand destruction, because there are contracts that fail. There are situations where homes deals fall apart, and it's becoming more and more common than you would think. But we do it a different way. Now, there are some home sellers that will take the chance of a contingent offer. And that's great if they are willing to do that, but they have to understand, if the other agents see that it has a contract, they're just not going to show it. They're going to move on. So I don't think it's a good concept, because a seller can always accept a backup offer, right? Now, if you do get a contingent offer, you could still work with them, but I just would not change the status until their home is sold. You really want to verify everything in the real estate world. And oh, by the way, it has to be in writing. I just had an agent call me. I wrote an offer on their property, and they called me and said, oh, well, the seller's willing to counter at this price, and they're only going to offer this much commission. And I asked her, I said, okay, let me get this straight. You're telling me that you can't be bothered to spend 30 seconds, that's all it takes, and that's a long time, to write up a counter proposal in writing that says that? Well, I like to talk on the phone. I said, well, I don't. So why don't you send it over in writing, and I will present it to my client? Because Richard, you went to law school. Does it mean anything, a verbal counter proposal?
Not on something like this, and it depends on the state whether even verbal agreements are enforceable, but certainly not something like this.
Well, not real estate. It's very, very strict about the rule. Real estate, it says it has to be in writing. So she was claiming there was another offer. So why didn't they counter my buyer in writing? I don't know. That was more than a week ago. And guess what? Their house is still on the market. And to me, it's like, really, you could not spend 30 seconds to trying to negotiate with my buyer. I just don't get it. It's not that hard. It's really bad. It's like, 1 month of school and they don't do it very well. Anyway, my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about, what do you do if you want to buy your next home, but you have a house to sell? And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few solutions that might work for you. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, we've gone from nearly all homes selling for a premium price to homes sitting longer on the market and some homes actually not selling. How do you give home sellers certainty when it comes to the sale?
Well, there's a lot of options out there. Some people choose to do what's called taking a home equity line of credit. Now, in that case, if you do it, most of the lenders out there that offer home equity lines of credit will actually give you up to 75% of your equity minus whatever loan balance you might have as a loan, right? And it's basically a loan against your current home. And you can use it for a down payment or a full-on purchase of your next home. So those are solutions. However, if you're going to get a loan on your next home, you need to qualify both for the payments on the home equity line of credit as well as your new loan. And that can be tricky for some people. We have some systems, we have investors out there, a couple of them, that will give you up to 75% of your home equity as kind of like an advance on your loan on your home. But it becomes a lien like a home equity line of credit on your current home. However, there is no payment for that, but they do charge a percent, usually 2.5% of the full value in the form of what they charge for the cost of the money. And those systems work very well as well. I've also heard of bridge loans where you can pull equity out and kind of bridge the gap between the two houses. But again, in those cases, you have to qualify for both mortgages. I've also had home buyers use something called a recast. That's a really cool thing. Now, hello, if you qualify for a recast loan, then basically the way it works is you buy your next home first, then you sell your current home, okay? And so you've already closed on your existing home, and you have to do this in advance. And then when your current home sells, you take the net proceeds, you put it down on your current mortgage. And once you do that, they lower the payment of the current mortgage without refinancing. There's a few lenders in town that do that. It's a really, really good program. It only costs a few $100s to do this recast product. And it's a very nice solution if you have the resources to basically buy both homes. And we have lots of options, including our cash offer program. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. We show up at every listing with multiple offers on your home. And you just call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Give Barb a call at 719-301-3900. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That is Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. The number, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing why fewer buyers are working with a real estate agent and the pros or cons of doing that.